Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I thought I'd do an unusual video today. We always have everything actually in bloom on the 8th, and every now and again I sort of, pick on things that have just opened up and stuff like that. But I don't think I've ever done a video on just buds and spikes. So I thought I'd do that today, as I've got to go round virtually all the plants. So I won't be doing things in bloom this time. I'll actually be looking at things to come, things to look forward to, and there's actually quite a lot of that, which is good. So I'll do that as I go round today, and we'll have a buds and spikes video. As I say, I'm not sure I've ever done that before. Now, these buds are starting to swell quite nicely now. This is, well, it's called Oncidium alexandrae, but it was Odontoglossum crispum. My mouth won't work. More coffee. I've only ever seen the blooms on this plant once in real life, and that was at a show on a huge specimen plant, and I was just sold on it. It took me a long time to get hold of it, and the plant is quite precious to me because of where I got it. So although I shouldn't, looking at the plant, I'm actually going to let it bloom, and I'll go from there. It's got good roots, and the growth it grew isn't bad. It's not as desiccated as the older bulbs. It's got a reasonable leaf system to help support it, so I'm at least going to let the blooms open, because I just want to see it in my grow room. It's quite special. And this little Hamiltonara hybrid is coming on nicely. Well, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 or 9 blooms to come on that. They're swelling nicely, starting to show their colour. Not large blooms, but very, very attractive Oncidium-like blooms. But yeah, those are coming soon. It's coming on nicely. I'm going to cheat a bit to bulk up the video. There are things that have got blooms open, but I've still got buds and spikes, so I'll include those. That's my Dendrobium nobile type prima donna. Blooms are looking good, and loads of buds still to come all over the place, so it's nowhere near finished blooming. Well, bearing in mind the others have only just opened, so yeah, loads of buds still to come. Now, this Shari baby is effectively 2 plants in a single pot, and these blooms are virtually finished now, so I'm going to take that spike off. That should hopefully trigger new growths then on that part of the plant. The other side of the plant has got a nice spike pushing on, but as Shari baby spikes go, that's not very big. I mean, I don't even think it's going to branch, and it ought to. So it's not the best of spikes, but at least I'll have the continuation of blooms. Now, this little Dendrobium I actually bought in bloom at the time on this particular growth, middle of the last year, somewhere like that, and pushed up 2 lovely strong new growths, one a bit ahead of the other, and this one's definitely got a bud in the apex. This one may have, but not showing like this one is, but blooms are gorgeous on this. I'm really looking forward to seeing those again. Whoops, must remember to say what things are. That's actually a primary cross. It's Infundibulum crossed with Lowii. Gorgeous blooms. Now, my Ivanagara apple blossom, the latest growth, is pushing buds. So strange one this. Very occasionally it puts out a sheath followed by buds, and other times it just pushes out buds. Seems to please itself. But anyway, I'll be looking forward to the 2 leaves that I singed in the brighter light, which I won't do again, dropping off, which they will do eventually. And yeah, I've got a couple of eyes near the base. It'll be nice to get 2 growths this time round. This will be the first time that it decides to push new growths out where it's had a very good root system to back them up. So maybe I'll get 2. But we've got buds on that anyway. Long way off at the moment, but coming down the line. So I'm trying not to have to get all the holy clay pots down because they were watered yesterday. So in theory I don't need to get them down today. But this No ID hybrid the buds on that are pushing out very, very nicely. Now this one started to get a purple tinge to it, so it's probably getting a bit too much light without the shade netting, and it had to be pulled away from the glass. But now the shade netting's up, I've sort of put it back. The light's now diffused, so it's nothing like it used to be. So hopefully the plant will green up again. But buds are pushing on nicely on that one. 5, so that should be good. That's bright orange, that one, and reasonable size. Oh, so much bug damage on the leaves of this dendrobium. It happened a while ago. You know, this under normal circumstances would be classed as an iffy plant, but each time a new growth came up, bugs got it, bit into it and left marks, and they grew into the leaves. The new growths over here are fine, they're okay, but I got no guarantee those bugs aren't there anymore, so it's going to get a spray while I've got it down. We've got a bud here starting to push. We've got a bud here starting to push. Any others? Oh yeah, I forgot the main one. It's hiding. That's going to have a lot of blooms. 2, 4, 6, 8. Up near 20, I suspect, but 15-ish maybe. Hides under the leaf, and then it will suddenly pop out from there and burst into bloom. And it's got, like I say, several other buds following on. One here, and I've just noticed that one there looks like it might be starting. So more buds and blooms to come, but this will be the first one out. I can't remember how long it actually takes, but the spikes grow really fast on this thing. So, and that's Farmer I cross with Griffithianum. It's about to get its leaves washed, avoiding the spike, of course. Now, unfortunately, this plant might have to go. I'm just waiting on the new growths, see what they look like, see how strong they are. Mass of buds, and there's only a couple of leaves on this plant that are actually okay. Most have gone like that and fallen off. Now on this plant, that could be the aging process. It is deciduous, but I'm waiting to see what the new growth's like. But it's an absolute mass of buds. Should be in bloom soon. Buds on many of the canes. So it's going to bloom, and then it's a matter of what are the new growths like as they come up. There's 2 or 3 starting to push up at the base, but bloom soon. Lovely bright orange one, this. Oh, it's a dendrobium with no ID, along the lines of unicum, but it isn't. It's not the species, it is a hybrid, but yeah, several people have suggested, but it's always difficult to get a positive ID, certainly without blooms anyway. This sorry looking object was some kikis that I took off of Dendrobium Stardust Firebird. In fact, this is a kiki that grew off the kiki. This is an absolute kiki machine, this thing. And it's no good thinking because you've got buds that I'm going to keep you, because I'm not. So that's one to go, depending on whether I get some new growths or not. It's a strange plant, but it's got some buds, so we will see the blooms at some point down the line. They're only just starting, so another bright orange one. Now this is one of my resting type dendrobiums. This is Dendrobium jenkinsii, and it's bloomed once for me before with 1 spike and 2 blooms. And these spikes are difficult to see, so I'm going to have to use my finger. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spikes. I think that's going to be quite a little show, and since I last watered it, there's another 3 or 4 spikes have appeared, the tinier ones, so it may not have finished yet, but I think that's going to be pretty good this time. Lovely yellow blooms, and yeah, I've only ever seen 2 before, so this should be a little bit better this time. Another one of the resting type dendrobiums. This is Dendrobium findleyanum. This will be a first time bloomer for me, and It could be that it just wasn't mature enough in previous years. I've had it a few years now, but this year it's going to have a go. We got, looks like it's pairs of blooms in the main, buds, two there, but that spike's got 3, so it's capable of 3. 2 there, and there's another couple forming round here on some of the older canes, because those are not last year's growth, they're the year before's. So it hasn't finished producing its buds yet, but these blooms are starting to buds are starting to show colour now, so this one should be out soon. I'm really looking forward to those blooms. They're quite attractive. Now this is Dendrobium Comet King, one of the more colourful nobly types, sent to me by Rachel as a single kiki. Grew that last year, and the original kiki has a bud, singular, 1. Well, this is a buds thing, so a bud. Doesn't look very large or strong, but if it produces its flower, at least I get to see it in here, in this grow room, because it's one I haven't got, and I'm looking for new growths on that soon. Now this Dendrobium's having a good go this time. I mean, this cane, bud, 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 bud. That's about as good as I could expect from this. This one not quite so good, but we've got 3 buds coming up now. That's the actual bloom. This one came out early on one of the oldest canes, and the other canes are pushing on behind, so there's going to be a succession here, because this one's already open. That'll tell me how long they last, because I've forgotten, it was so long ago. These will be the next 3, and then this cane full will follow on behind. So given the succession, even if the blooms are short-lived, you know, it should be in bloom for some time. Maybe with a little gap, depending on how long they last. These 3 may open and drop before these are ready, but a nice succession on that, and it's coming back into growth as well, which is good. Well, that wasn't there last time I watered it. One of the growths on Shelob Tolkien's got a spike, which means the others should soon. That's the most advanced of the growths. Not fully mature yet, but there's quite a few new growths on that plant. But yeah, there's a spike there. So Shelob Tolkien down the line. It's probably one of my more favourite-y, spidery type things. The blooms are just smashing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that again. That's been out of bloom for a while, but then it was quite a spectacle when it was in bloom. I think it had 3 spikes in succession, and they lasted ages as a consequence. So looking forward to that starting again, followed by the other new growth. I think there's another 4 new growths following on from that one. So that should be a succession through most of the rest of the year once that one comes into bloom. It's probably going to be out a very long time. Now, a couple of the longer cane ones, which I don't actually want to get down at the moment. I'm in the middle of doing something else, but the large cane heading off towards the distance there, that's my Dendrobium anosmum. That looks like it's going to bloom over half the length of the only cane I grew last year, apart from a short one up the top, so that's going to be a nice set of blooms. Looks like it's pairs of buds at each node. And then the one just in front of it here, this is an anosmum cross Dendrobium nesta, and the 3 canes I grew myself last year, all 3 have got buds on. This shorter cane here, this one coming down here, and then this one coming down here. Mostly pairs of buds. That's an anosmum trait. You occasionally get 3, but it's mainly pairs of buds come out from each node. Well, each node if you're lucky, otherwise some nodes. But both of those should be quite a good show. Once they get going, they're pushing on nicely now. My Sedera japonica, the plant is a little suspect. Older leaves, not good at all. But a nice spike progressing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8 or 9 blooms on that spike if they don't blast. Yeah, so that's the first time that's bloomed since I got it, so we'll have anything. Talking of buds, I always forget the indoor plants. This is the Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory, and it's blasted one of its larger buds for whatever reason. Not sure whether that one's going to blast or not. It's a combination possibly in here of just dry air. Even though I do my best with the humidity trays, it's probably not good enough. And Sweet Memory is only just a little bit away from a species really, so it could do with far more humidity around it. But soon all these plants will be back out in the grow room, and then they'll have their humidity and their extra light, and they should come back into vegetative growth. That's a big word. But yeah, I mean, there are buds on it. I'm not sure whether, I think that one might make it looking at the colour, because it's a lot bigger than this one. But one's blasted, that leaves 3. But then those are branches on the original spike, so that's a bonus for a start. Now this plant has moved since last time I watered it. This is a nobly type, but it's unusual because it's a very late spring, early summer bloomer, so I wasn't expecting to see any signs, but the nubbins are just starting. So that started to move in the last week, on this cane as well. So they're not buds as such yet, but they will be. We all know what noblies do. They push out little nubbins. And what did we have on that last year? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 5, possibly 6 new canes last year, maybe 5. The older canes have bloomed, so it has bloomed for me. Nice pale sort of yellow flowers on that, quite nice, they're quite attractive. But a long way off, obviously the nubbins have only just started, so you're probably looking at 2 months. But on their way. We mustn't forget the hairy one. I say this plant's in a state of settling down into its proper seasons. Strictly speaking, that's a deciduous cane, and this time of year that's what it should look like. In the main, nearly all the canes should look like that, tarantula legs. But because it was sort of got out of season, it grew on through the winter, which I assumed meant it wasn't going to bloom, but it has got a few buds. It's not many, but it's some, and as I'd written off blooms on this one for this spring, any blooms are gratefully accepted. But you can see now it's starting to do autumn in the spring. That's what I mean by out of season. Those leaves should have dropped sort of November, December time through the winter, and most of the new, the larger canes should have been leafless by now. But during this growing season it should settle down, and the new growths that push on this year hopefully will do the proper thing in the next sort of resting period. But anyway, a few buds, more than I was expecting, which was none. One of my Tolumnias is pushing out a reasonable spike on it. I forget what this one is. That is Tolumnia Jarrac Flyer Black Magic. Get a picture of what it hopefully might look like. But yeah, nice spike coming on that one. Looking good. That's my only new spike coming on the Tolumnias at the moment, apart from the one that's been in bloom for ages, but yeah, we'll see. My Dendrobium hercoglossum, it's a game of hunt the buds, because it's such a tangled mess at the moment, which I'm hoping to be able to deal with some carefully placed wires to actually spread the canes out a little bit so that it's going to do a better show. But the buds are all over the place. Some are just starting, like sort of here. Yeah, so there's some coming on this cane in their infancy or embryo stage, whatever you want to call it. But there are places where the buds are starting to push out. So there's buds in many places, often on the older parts of the cane. The leafless parts, but sometimes the buds come out in the middle of the leaves on some of the canes. And it seems to bud wherever it wants, but there are a lot, but it's a later bloomer, this Dendrobium. This is not a late winter, early spring bloomer, it's more like a late spring bloomer. So there's one developing quite nicely there. You can actually see the buds forming. So it'll be a while before that's out, and I'm hoping it will be a mass blooming, But looking at the stages of the buds now, I think there's going to be a few buds that will open, like the first ones, followed by most of the rest. I think it might have a slightly phased blooming this time. But it's one of my favourite dendrobiums, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, that's the buds and spikes. I may have missed the odd one, but I don't think so. And I have cheated a bit and filmed ones that are actually in bloom that have still got loads of buds coming. Well, it's my video, I'll do what I like. I've also solved the mystery of the lost fogger. You remember I kept saying that last year I had one here, I had one there, and I had one up here that was connected up to the inlet and the outlet fan to boost the humidity when the air gets changed. Well, the mystery is solved. It never existed. The one that sat here last year was one of my old second-hand ones, the ugly ones with all the tape round them to keep the light out. So I'll get another one of this type because I'm just very pleased with the way these work. With the smoked glass, it helps keep the algae right down. Doesn't totally keep it out, but keeps it right down to a bare minimum. And with using the RO water in there, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't get any build up. They work well. They hold half as much water again, and they push it out almost twice as much. So when these kick on, they produce a lot. That was convenient, just caught it. So when they kick on, they push out a lot of mist. They also use a lot of water up. But yeah, I think I'll get another one of those because I'm just very pleased with the way they work, the ease of filling. You do have to take the top right off and turn it upside down, which is a bit of a pain. Well, it isn't a pain taking it off when it's empty, but it's a pain actually lifting it up there when it's full. And lining it up and getting it to sit back in its base, but it's worth it. They're good foggers. They work well for me. So that's that mystery solved. The fogger that never existed. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Something a little different, and I'll see you next time.